that they're not liking it. And it did terrible at the
box office.
Yeah, and wasn't it Caesar said it was The Rock's fault?
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff.
Oh, Jesus. Hav, put on your pants. It's time to start. Hi there, and welcome to Hav and Charles Talk Comics, Season 3, Episode 2. I'm Charles Herring, one of your hosts, and I'm here with Javier Gonzalez, our other host. Hi, Hav. How you doing?
I am doing great, Charles, especially since I'm, Winnie the Pooh in it, Donald Duck in it, however you want to call it, going pantsless yet again. No, just so the faithful listeners know, we are on camera together through the wondrous technology of Apple FaceTime. But Charles is only guessing that I'm pantless because he can only see me from like the chest up, and I am wearing a shirt. Let me just make sure that's clear, because I know sometimes Charles is insinuated or just flat out said I'm doing weird stuff, with my body, naked body. So, but no, I'm doing well. How are you, Charles?
I'm doing fine. Now you realize I have to leave in the joke I put at the beginning before I said hi and welcome to.
Oh, I know.
All right.
I just want them to know how you constantly try to draw me off sides, and you do very, very good job of it. Because I'm very gullible, and I'm very easily drawn off sides, and yeah, I just.
Yeah, that one I didn't spend all day thinking about, but I did come up with it about we met up. It's about 8:45 here this evening, and at about 8:15 when I was wandering into my office to get set up to do this, I was like, that'll be kind of funny to me. I don't know if anybody else finds that amusing, and I think I've made it perfectly clear I don't care, but sure. It amused me.
It amuses me.
It does. We have to find our own fun in life. And as long as it harms no one but Hav's feelings, I'm sorry.
It actually doesn't harm my feelings.
I know.
It actually is fun.
If it did, I wouldn't do it. I do not wish to cause you any harm.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate that.
So that was our podcast, ladies. No, wait. What are we talking about today, Hav?
Well, like we do every night, Pinky, we're going to talk about comic books. And this time, you suggested we read Batman and Robin circa August of 2009.
I think you say circa when you don't know it's around when it came out. I mean, if you're going August of 2009, that's pretty much just that. Not to correct you.
Well, I don't know the exact date.
Okay.
I don't know which date, date.
I'm sorry, you're
August.
Right. You don't know the exact release date.
But you're right. I think it's usually circa is usually more generalized.
Yeah.
I was the second half of August.
Circa
2009.
Circa the 1800s. We think this is when that happened.
No, and so, you suggested that, and I suggested we read Kingdom Come, which, do I know when that one? Yeah, that was May of 96. Oh, hey. Oh, no, not 10 years. Not 20 years apart. Never mind. My bad. I can't do math.
That's okay.
For some reason, 09 in my head, I flipped the 9 into a 6. Anyways, but yeah, that's what we suggested that we read.
Okay.
And that's our podcast. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Now you know what we read, and you all have a good night. Thank you for listening. No, so if we, is there anything off the top you want to take up from last time, or any notes, or I don't know, any housekeeping?
There's no housekeeping. I haven't finished editing the last podcast, which is due out. This is Wednesday night. It's due out Friday. So I have to finish editing that before Friday. But I'm sure I can get it done.
I'm sure you can. Or if you don't, you know what? World's not going to end.
I'm pretty sure you don't know that to be true.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if somebody's made some kind of weird, like, hey, Charles, if you don't get this podcast on time out to the general public, bad stuff's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel like I've only missed podcast drop dates for real legitimate reasons. I don't want to miss one just because I was like, meh.
I'm tired. I don't feel like it.
I will get it. I will get it done. I do have tomorrow off.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, good.
Sort of.
Oh, okay.
I have things I have to do, but
yeah,
I've got time to edit. It wasn't an overly long one. which is good because I'm not very deep into the editing. And I'm sure everyone is interested in this. So we read Kingdom Come, as per usual, is the older comic that Hav suggested.
It is. It is. Well, hold on, real fast, because for some reason I went to the whole somebody's gonna, the world's gonna end if you don't do this. Did weird tangent, because in my head, did you see the previews? And it may have already come out for the new M. Night Shyamalan movie where Dave Bautista goes to somebody's house and tells the dude he's essentially got to sacrifice one of his kids. Otherwise, the world's going to end, or so. It was something weird premise like that. Do you remember seeing a preview for that?
I did. I decided I did not want to know anything about that.
It looked good.
So the movie.
Yeah, I don't even remember what it was called. It reminded me of almost like a Jordan Peele type thing, but it was M. Night Shyamalan, and it looked really scary, weird, but not scary like, ooh, I want to go see it scary. I probably will eventually see it, but anyway, that made me think of that.
Yeah, so. I have no desire to see that movie. The whole premise of that is like you're just reaching, because they're not explaining why killing their son would. I mean, they're just
Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why you got to go see the movie.
Yeah, it's like the chat. One of the chat things, the not real artificial intelligence, that somebody was trying to get it to say the N-word and coming up with reasons why it should, and it was clearly programmed to not ever, because it's like, well, what if someone saying it in private could save millions of lives? And premises like that are just so stupid. They're not. It makes no sense. It's the we have to make it legal back during when 24 was on the air, and everybody was like, well, we have to torture terrorists because we have to find out the immediate plans that they have, even though that doesn't work. And they were using that. Well, what if a bomb was about to explode? It has to be legal for that guy to torture him. Well, no, that's the decision. This is the way I always thought about this. That's the decision a person actually literally has to make that's doing the trying to get the information out of them. One, they have to decide if they really have that information and torturing will work, and if they're willing to go to prison to save millions of lives.
There you go.
Or do they think if they save millions of lives doing that, then if they get put on trial for that, the jury won't go, yeah, but he saved millions of lives? Because I'm against torturing, and I don't believe torture works. But if you show me that it did work and they saved all of these lives because he tortured one person that knew about the horrible thing that they were just planned, I probably wouldn't vote to convict.
There you go.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Well, and going back to the horror thriller movie thing, more horror, I don't know. If it's grounded in some horror movies, I don't know if this is a hot take or anything, but some horror movies are fantastical and I'm still scared by them, even though I know it's not real. But the ones that really get to you, I think, or get to me rather, I'm not going to speak for anyone else, at least in part, are the ones that are kind of grounded in reality. Mm-hmm. Where like, crap, yeah, that could happen. Or that's actually scary. Or people, serial killers do exist. There are Hannibal Lecters out there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I say that, but then I don't know if that's the right word. The Exorcist scared the crap out of me. The Shining scared the crap out of me. So anyway, okay, tangent right off the bat, we went down tangent road, so my bad.
Yeah, we're just going to start the podcast over. Hi there, and welcome to Hav and Charles.
But you didn't lead in with the my pants off. So, I mean, are we going to
stop drawing attention to the fact that you're not wearing pants? He stood up, by the way, a minute ago, so I could tell he's not wearing pants.
Did not. No, so I suggested Kingdom Come. Had you read it before?
I had a couple of times.
Okay. See,
which I've told you before, there's nothing wrong with suggesting things we've read. I told you when you suggested it that I'd read it.
No. I know, and it just I think I knew that, and I had not read it. I didn't read it right when it came out. I think I got a trade of it when it came after it was out for a year or two. But it'd been like late 90s, early 2000s since I'd read it last. So let me just start out with what'd you think?
So I've read it a few times.
Yeah.
And I really, really want to like it more than I do.
Okay.
I love the art because it's incredible, although sometimes the painted art it's Alex Ross, right?
Correct.
Sometimes it doesn't work as well for me in comic books because it doesn't have what I think of as comic book art, because it's gorgeous and what he does. And there are some cover type shots and big spread shots that are just incredible with Superman and with the way he puts all of these characters. Because good Lord, all the characters they used in this was just incredible. But I don't love it. Let's put it that way. I really like a lot of it, but I would want to love this comic book, kind of like the way I love Marvel's. But there's something about it that, and maybe it's Maybe it's that whole thing that I talk about, that it's an event book. And I think the thing I love about Marvel's is it's not an event book. It's a timeline about the Marvel universe. It in a more grounded way. And this is definitely an event. This is a what happens when the comic books get too dark, the superheroes get too dark and edgy, and the older comic characters decide not to be dark and edgy like that and go away and hide. And
Right.
it's a nice premise, but is it a trope at this point? And I
Okay,
know this
so
is early. This
go
is
ahead.
in '96, so it's not something that's been done. But actually, this is '96. When did
Squadron Supreme.
well, not
Watchmen.
Squadron Watchmen was the one I was thinking. Oh, Watchmen came out in the '80s.
When Squadron Supreme came out before Watchmen.
Before Watchmen. So it's not like this isn't something that has been done before. And I think that's the thing. I don't. And we're going to go back to me and Superman. And maybe I haven't read enough Superman. Maybe my image of Superman is wrong, but they keep writing Superman in these things in a way I don't see him. I don't feel he's going to react like this. I'm going to go run away and hide. And I don't think Superman goes and runs away and hides.
I get you. Just my kind of thoughts on. Look, I get it. I remember fondly, downright loving it the last time I read it. Again, I think late 90s. I want to say, because I don't think I was even living up here in Dallas when I read it. Or if it was I just moved to Dallas. On reread, kind of like, look, something like this had been done before. And the two things that come to mind, Squadron Supreme, Watchmen. But at the time, it wasn't as done as it's been done over and over again, obviously now. And I want to say this was the first time you had a really good take and story of the actual DC proper heroes, not a Watchmen where they did age them. And yes, it was the 90s and everything was dark and gritty, but it was done for the first time, and at least to my memory, in a good way. And on top of that, okay, going to your thing about Superman, look, I get it. This is definitely a take on Superman. We've mentioned Alex Ross, the great artist. Now at this point, even back in the 90s, he was well regarded, and now he's just a legend. Mark Waid is a writer. The whole thing, people haven't read it. I'm not, spoiler alert if you haven't read something from the 90s, but Superman bows out after the Joker kills a whole bunch of people, including Lois Lane. I get remember?
They always kill Lois Lane.
Of course.
Because he is such a weak human being that if you kill Lois Lane, he can no longer tolerate it, and he takes over the entire world. Oh, wait, that's a video game.
That's a different way. That's a different take. But so Magog kills Joker. Mm-hmm. Just like, screw this, I'm killing him. And Superman brings him in, trial, acquitted, and mm-hmm. Superman's out after that. And then fast forward, 20 years? What are we thinking? 30 years?
Yeah, call it 20 years, and let's say they'd been doing their job for 20 years, because we've got an aged Bruce Wayne.
Right.
I mean, not so much of an aged Superman, but Superman doesn't age in the same way.
Right. And the offspring of the supers have just kind of started just doing whatever the hell they want, and
they are out of control, absolutely and completely out of control.
And then Magog is trying to take down a very weakened parasite, mm-hmm. Superman bad guy from way back in the day, who is begging to surrender and is just getting pummeled by Magog and a bunch of his people, including Captain Atom, which I found was weird, or at least that's what I think they said.
Yeah, it was Captain. It was I think later it was a Captain Atom.
Okay.
It might not have been the original, but because it was Captain Atom, and Parasite draws energy from powerful enemies.
And somehow split him or released his...
He drew so much power off of the Atom, he basically exploded like a nuclear bomb in Kansas.
Yeah, which isn't good.
It's bad. I think it's easy to say that that's bad.
And then, okay, since it had been so long since I had not read it, so the story is that essentially Superman's gone away, the next generation is running amok. Which one of my big notes of this, though, I knew what Kingdom Come was about. I didn't remember it was so much old generation versus new generation. I don't know how I didn't put that together when we read and talked about Jupiter's Legacy. Did we talk about Kingdom Come at all when we talked about Jupiter's Legacy?
I don't believe we did. But and who wrote Jupiter's Legacy?
Millar, I want to say.
Okay.
I think.
Because that's his too. No, this is Mark Waid.
This is Mark Waid.
Not Mark Millar. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think that the first names threw me off there because I'm like, wait a minute. Because
Yeah,
they're
no, it
both
wasn't.
Mark, right?
Yes, they are
I'm
both
not
Mark, I
okay.
believe, but it wasn't Mark Waid for sure.
Okay.
Because speaking of going to that story type of story, a lot of similarities here.
Oh, there definitely. Jupiter's Legacy works better because it's his own characters and its own world. And I know they're based on kind of the DC thing, but they aren't that. And by the way, in that, the Superman avatar in Jupiter's Legacy never quits and goes away. He continues to try to make the other heroes live up to the standards that he believes in.
You're right. No, you're right. No, I know. Look, that's an issue with Superman in this one for sure. Oh, you know what? Too, it's funny. It is Mark Millar. Frank Quietly did the art on, which will come up later in our podcast.
I'm not familiar with him.
Frank Quietly. Okay,
I,
okay. We'll talk about that in a second.
oh, okay.
He's smiling ear to ear, everybody, because he just cracked himself up, everybody. So now there's that issue. What about the whole? So just look, it's an Elseworlds tale. Let's just put that out there too. This was not supposed to be a main continuity thing. It was supposed to be a one-off. I still liked it.
I said I liked it.
You said you hated it and you burned your iPad.
I said I didn't. I wanted to love it and I couldn't because of these reasons. It is. I really liked the priest working with the Spectre.
Yep.
I loved that. I loved the mysticism at it, and I loved the heart that they wrote for the priest. Was he a priest or a preacher? I wasn't exactly sure.
I wasn't sure either.
Yeah, I did. I think it was fairly.
I think he said priest. I thought at one point.
Okay. And he could have. I just kind of sometimes I think it's done on purpose with that kind of character, so it can be read either way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed his earnestness, his being the everyman there. I thought that worked really well, having a reason for him to be there the whole time. I didn't like what they did to Captain Marvel.
That's one of my big notes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's just DC revenge on a character that was bigger than Superman after he came out. And you can say, oh, they ripped off Superman, but Captain Marvel was bigger than fucking Superman. Captain Marvel was awesome. And I get to call him Captain Marvel in this because that was who he was at that time. It's Captain Marvel.
Do they not? And look, I haven't read a Captain Marvel Shazam comic book in forever. Do they not call him Captain Marvel at all in the comic books anymore?
His name is Shazam now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Yeah,
because anyways, no. So I look again. I read this comic book. I knew there was a thing with Captain Marvel. I didn't remember how he had been manipulated by Lex Luthor, who's of course one of the big bads besides Magog and the young supers.
Magog wasn't really a big bad in this because after he did that, he broke.
Yeah.
After the explosion, he broke because Superman comes out of hiding because Lois Lane, because Wonder Woman goes to get him and says, all right, Clark. And he refuses. That was another thing. He refuses to be called Clark. Clark was his name before he knew. I know he was originally named Kal-El, but he didn't remember that until later in his life. He was named Clark by his parents that actually raised him. So I didn't like the "don't call me Clark" thing that he gave. Anyway, this is me. Maybe I don't like Superman.
Maybe you don't, because he's not from around these parts. Everybody knows you don't like foreigners. It's one of your things. No. And I was going back and looking and flipping through. No, Parasite rips open Captain Atom. It's not that he's just sucking his power. Somehow he accidentally rips him open. I don't know why or how.
I hate when I do that.
Which, bad idea genes right there.
Yes.
Now, the Captain Marvel thing, so apparently, now it's whatever, how many years later, Billy Batson has grown up and looks like Captain Marvel. Like, the whole time he's walking around in the comic book, I forgot that he is not Captain Marvel. He is Billy Batson, just all grown up.
You were supposed to, because everybody around him, because he's working with Lex, Lex is heavy, and everybody thinks that's Captain Marvel,
right?
And not Billy Batson, because he now looks. The age is gone. It's long enough, so it's been at least. Because I mean,
20.
He looks like a 35-year-old man, so it's been at least 25 years since he was the kid, and they treat him with more respect than they would, because Lex gave him brain worms. He put these worms in his brain.
Yeah, he talks about Dr. Savannah, one of Captain Marvel's big bads, and there was that other bad guy for Captain Marvel that was literally a little worm, and I forget the name of that bad guy. But yeah, no, he's put stuff in his head and he's been showing him videos and the whole like Clockwork Orange thing on him
about how bad superheroes are.
Yes.
And he and he should know because he was a superhero, and he's destroyed the poor kid's mind. I mean, it's bad enough he was a homeless child that was taken into who was lured by a stranger into a subway thing and injected with a fully grown man, and now
Yeah, I know. Again, cracking yourself up, man.
it was just so wrong. Anyway,
Yeah.
no,
So
but honestly, the whole origin story of
it's that.
Captain Marvel was wrong. Follow a stranger into the subway or
Hey,
into
come
a
here,
dark
kid.
corner and get superpowers. I mean, good Lord, who's
Nothing
that?
wrong. Nothing wrong ever happens to kids that go into dark, weird alleys with strangers.
Oh, but it's a wizard.
No, no,
Yeah.
it's okay. Come with me. I'm a wizard. Everything's gonna be okay.
Good Lord.
And I have some candy here. Okay, that's enough. So the other thing I have a problem with, this is me nitpicking now. I know Billy Batson's poor, brainwashed, was a kid, now grown up, but still probably in the mindset of a kid at some level because
Mm-hmm.
Lux has been manipulating him and brainwashing him for apparently decades, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
or for sure years. But when he does finally say Shazam,
I had that problem too.
this is the first time I've thought about this on the reread, is once he says Shazam, isn't it the wisdom of Solomon, among other things? And shouldn't that kind of snap him out of it instantaneously?
Having already read this again, I had read this and I, in my head, thought that when he said Shazam, that made it better and that's why there were survivors, etc. And then I reread it because to me that is what I thought. I was like, and because when nothing happened and he's still
Battling
doing
Superman.
that, yeah, battling Superman, I did think the same thing because they're not playing, they don't seem to be playing within the rules of their own universe.
Well, okay. And speaking of not knowing the character, and especially, look, I know Mark Waid can write it however he wants, and this is just me nitpicking, but it isn't. I think it's a valid nitpick that's where it kind of, and now very, very much towards the end of the story, it's kind of where it lost me. I was like, it seems like once he says Shazam, he should get his head straight because magic and wizards and all that, and he should have snapped out of it and then immediately helped fight the good fight. And to me, that's where it kind of lost me. It was like, really?
And I kind of felt like Lex was keeping him because part of that stuff was he was not saying Shazam. He wasn't because Lex was keeping him from doing that. One, using as a deterrence, and two, Lex probably thought that was what would happen.
Exactly. Exactly. Otherwise, Lex would have been using him as a big bad, like he used Superman in
Exactly.
whatever Dark Knight Returns or whatever, But no, he just kept him as a threat.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it kind of lost me. Then the other thing there, again on reread, that kind of was okay. A couple more nitpicks. I'm sorry. Now that I've read it a few times, and now this time kind of reading it because we were going to talk about it. At one point, the Spectre goes, and I didn't take a screenshot because I wasn't in a position to do it. I was reading at different times, and I just didn't. Spectre's leading around this minister, Norman McKay, who's been having these visions, and the visions were kind of given to him shortly before the original Sandman died, I want to say, is who we figure out it was.
Is that he was ministering to a superhero that I guess was the Sandman.
I think it's Wesley Dodds.
And he
who was the original Sandman.
And he was having these visions. And then when he dies, the minister, his friend, begins to have them. Yeah, he had stopped being a superhero. He had moved to the small town where the minister was from, and the minister knew he had been a superhero, and they became friends.
That's right. Well, at some point during their walk along the ethereal planes of existence and going from instance to instance of all this building to the apocalypse, end of times, Ragnarok, they use the term once or twice. They see all these super cosmic beings, super powered beings gathered, and it's like one of the guardians of the Green Lantern Corps, one of the little blue guys, and the High Father from New Genesis, and Deadman is there, and somebody else, maybe the Phantom Stranger is there too, and maybe a couple of, but that's one of the things that always bothers me about these, like, they're like, no, we're just going to stand back and watch. And that's the explanation given. I'm like, really? You're just going to, okay.
I have to wait for an active participant to make these decisions.
Yeah, that's one of again, a nitpick, because I think I had that same nitpick on something else we read, and I've thought about that before too and other stuff. It was like, or how they take them off the playing field by saying, here's why they can't get involved. And sometimes they have a good little trick, plot trick for that, and sometimes I think this one, it was just that they're just staying out of the way. It's up to the Earth to figure it out and their own on their own.
Well, this wasn't a situation where it was going to end the world. It was just going to change the world. So
True.
on that level, it's let the humans. My biggest problem with that is the idea is it's between are we going to let the humans or the superhumans control the world? The thing is, this is where I have the problem. A lot of the time with the way we look at this, the superheroes are not a different type of person. They just have a set of talents that most people don't have. They doesn't make them better. It doesn't make them, well, I mean, in some ways it makes them better, but doesn't make them better people. It doesn't mean they should be in charge. But we get this, and that was what they were kind of saying, is it's whose path is who's going to rule the world kind of thing. Is it going to be these gods on earth, or is it going to be the people? So
No, you're right. It was very much that was the whole thing. It was a us or them zero sum game, which is flawed logic, and that's a solution at the end, right? It's like, hey, we can all get along, we can
yeah,
coexist, and oh my god, it was a big revelation, and yeah, it was the payoff was a little. I don't know. I liked it again. I feel like I'm defending myself. I hated it. I didn't hate it. It's just again on reread, there were things that I just were nitpicking
I
or just figuring out that like
Hav, I don't feel like you're defending it. I feel like you're being harsher on it than I was, because like I said, I like it, but there are a lot of things about it that again falls into these big book type things. I do find it amusing that it has the same ending for Superman and Wonder Woman as Squadron Supreme did.
yeah, that's true. They get to have a baby.
They get to have a baby.
They do.
I did like also her job is to bring peace, and she loses her job because she doesn't bring peace. And by the way Amazons bring peace is at the end of a sword.
So that was one of my other things that I did not remember reading it, that she had fallen from grace among the Amazonians, and they had taken her title and royal title away and station and all that, and she's trying to maybe win back their respect by going even more hardcore than she ever was, because she wasn't the ambassador that changed the world. And yeah, I just that seemed weird that she would have gone so far that way. And then of course she reconsiders everything at the end. Some interesting some of the cool stuff when Superman goes to Apocalypse, and I'm thinking he's there to see. I didn't know what Darkseid. I didn't remember that part, and it turns out it's not Darkseid. It's Orion who's taken over for his dad. That was interesting.
Yeah, and everything's
And
just the same.
and then you do start to, then reading it 20 years later or whatever, at least. Everybody pointing out, not too subtly to Superman, like, look, you're going fascist here, dude. You're eventually going to have to go make some, if you're going to keep on going down this road, Wonder Woman's telling him in no uncertain terms. And she's pro doing that. And Batman's telling him that. Bruce is telling him that. And Cal, Clark, Superman is just in denial. It was interesting. That part was interesting on a reread, that Superman was just either consciously or unconsciously just in denial about the way forward for him. He thought was not as bad as everybody else was just telling him to his face. It was, I don't know. It was interesting.
Well, it was definitely interesting reading this after reading the JLA Avengers.
Yeah.
Where they were discussing some of these same things.
Yeah.
And here they are doing it. It was well done. I did have a something that I think aged wonderfully. The Lex Luthor's group is called the Mankind Liberation Front, or the MILF. May I assume that the MILF works then to raise the stakes rather than lower them? And I'm always for the MILF, the MLF.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it did amuse me because I have the sense of humor of a 13-year-old.
Well, that was good.
And later in the scene that I really like, Wonder Woman is saying in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman says to Bruce Wayne, "And you're having no trouble with the MILF? Inhibitor collars keep the rowdier ones subdued."
Are they saying MILF, or is it the initials, and you're just saying MILF in your head? Okay, there you go. Okay, just you can laugh out loud. It's okay. You're cracking yourself up.
It's MLF, man. It's MILF. If you abbreviate that, it's MILF.
Sure. That cracked you up.
Cracked me up when I read it. It was my favorite part of the damn comic.
Well, speaking of them going to the restaurant at the end.
And I mean, honestly, you do need an inhibitor collar to settle down those rowdier MILFs.
Heck yeah. What was I gonna say? Gosh, oh no, they're making Bruce the godfather of the baby.
Yes.
So he's more grounded. I guess, how is that going to work out? How well has Bruce done in his track record with young lords?
Well, here's the thing. they're making him the Godfather. They're not making the way you read this is he's like, oh well, I'm going to be his parent. No, you're going to be his.
No, the
You're
way
going
they
to
were
be like an
talking.
uncle. No, they're not going to have him live with fucking Bruce. He's going to spend time with Bruce. So he
It,
spends time with an actual human being. But
well, they mentioned that and said so he's not in isolation with his parents all the time
yeah,
because it's not like
exactly.
Wonder Woman and Superman are walking around going to Starbucks
Yes,
with baby Cal. In my head, it's like he goes to live with Bruce for the summers
sure. And
or something.
that's what I'm saying. He spends time with him, so he's around that. And by the way, actually, my guess is they base themselves out of Kansas or somewhere like that, and they raise their baby on a farm like
Yeah,
Cal was raised. And then they send him into the big city to be with his rich uncle because it's not like Bruce is going to be taking him to Starbucks. I mean, Alfred's going to make, well, whoever Alfred's replacement is, because Alfred is probably dead in this. Was Alfred dead in this? I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I don't know that we. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember.
If you don't see
I don't
Alfred,
remember.
Alfred is dead.
I don't remember not. I don't remember seeing him, and I don't remember there being an explanation. But I don't. I don't remember. Was the kid? So it's one of the MILF members, one of the mankind. Was it Mankind Liberation Front? Which is incredibly sexist, by the way. What about womankind?
How about humankind?
Boom, boom. There's Ra's al Ghul's successor is the son of Bruce and Talia al Ghul. Is that
Damien.
supposed to be a Elseworlds version of Damian Wayne, or is it just a different kid?
That is, I don't know because I don't know if it was Damien. I don't think Damien was even around when this was written, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yes, you can say that's Damien, except he never went to be with Bruce.
Yeah. That could be it.
Yeah.
So this all comes ahead when okay, does Lex turn him into Captain Marvel to go release the prisoners then?
No, something happens, and
I don't. That's another thing that's confusing.
There was a thing. He got really, really upset because they realized he wasn't Captain Marvel. He was just Billy Batson. And then he says Shazam, and he tears off to fight Superman.
Yeah, that was a big plot hole for me. Speaking of not understanding, and again, it's not like I know the character really great because I remember reading some Captain Marvel comic books, and when we're saying Captain Marvel for these purposes, everybody, of course, that's the DC / old. Is that Timely No, not Timely Comics. Fawcett Comics.
Anyone that knows comic books is not going to get this confused.
Well, some people that actually there are people that listen that are not huge
Well, I
comic
know,
book people.
I understand that, but then them they don't count.
Okay, there we bam. More shots fired, everybody. Gosh darn, I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
It wasn't going anywhere.
It's going to go off and it's going to go. Oh, I felt bad. They just mentioned. I don't even know if we get him in a panel. Poor Captain Comet bites the dust in the prison breakout. Like that's the one super that dies that really gets noted. Like and we lost Captain Comet. And I'm like, okay. Talk about. I was like Captain Comet. I know the name, and that's about it.
I know nothing about Captain Comet. I didn't even know the name. So
yeah, he's been around since the 50s apparently, and that's about it. Because I looked him up, and I kind of remember seen stuff about Captain, but I confused him with somebody else for not Captain Atom. There's Comet Man, maybe. I swear, it's just weird. So that was a weird choice to make the sacrificial lamb. What else? There's other notes just I had. Oh, Robin comes back to join Superman's New Justice League, and his costume. It's a Robin costume that had been used before, but at first I thought it was Dr. Midnight because the two costumes are very similar from the Justice Society of America, which is just a note. Because I always loved the way Dr. Midnight's costume, superhero getup looked. And then my last takeaway is now I really want to go find a good take on Captain Marvel, Shazam. So, yeah, why are you doing that with that ruler? Okay. Because I know I've read some that are good. I didn't like the Jeff Johns stuff that he did here in the last 15 years. It was
Yeah, I wanted to read some Captain Marvel too. I've been thinking about that because I've never really read any Captain Marvel. I've just read about him. Does that make sense?
Sure. I
And
mean,
there was a Superman and Captain Marvel. I was talking last time, I think, maybe about the DC comic book movies, the cartoons they actually do that are really good.
yeah.
There was a Superman Captain Marvel one that is based on a comic, and I think I read that comic, and it was really good because basically Clark Kent meets Billy Batson.
Yeah, I think I've seen that one too.
And it was really good. And I think I've read the comic they took that from, and it was really good. So I like that character. And I watched Shazam again this weekend or last weekend, within the last week and a half. The stuff I understood was I still think that's a good movie. I think that's one of the best DC movies they've made. Terrible.
It is. And the great
and wasn't it Caesar said it was The Rock's fault?
She gave a spoiler-free review on Twitter of the new Shazam and loved it, which means a lot to me. So that she liked it. Okay. So I very much want to go see the new one too.
Okay. I've stayed away from stuff, but I've not. The stuff I understood was it wasn't that they're not liking it, and it did terrible at the
box office.
Yeah, and wasn't it Caesar said it was The Rock's fault?
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff, but no, The Rock didn't help. No, I'm not joking.
You're supposed to say Caesar didn't say that because Caesar said the exact opposite on our group text. I was throwing Caesar under the bus there, and you're just like, yeah, fuck it, yeah,
sure. Caesar said, yeah,
Caesar blames The Rock for everything.
He does, and Caesar also. Well, Caesar doesn't like bald. Guys.
Yeah, no, he really doesn't like bald guys. And Caesar blames The Rock for never mind.
And Vin Diesel.
Well.
and Pitbull.
And Pitbull.
And Jean-Luc Picard.
That's the only time.
Kojak.
That's the only time Jean-Luc Picard has really been mentioned with The Rock, Vin Diesel, and Pitbull.
There you go.
I mean, that's not. That was a.
It's a weird gathering.
That was a weird. I get they're all bald, but.
Well, hold on. Just weird tangent again. Sorry, but going back to the Captain Marvel thing, I know Jerry Ordway, long time, mostly DC, if not almost. I want to say writer and artist. I know he did a Captain Marvel thing that I'm pretty sure I read and just completely. I remember liking it when it came out, but it was very much an old school take, going back to the roots, to the point where I might have to go back and reread that. And I kind of want to go back and read some of the early Fawcett stuff. And I didn't even think to look and see if any of that's available on the DC app, if I still subscribe to it, or even on like a Hoopla thing where you can go see, hey, let's read the first few issues of the original, which of course, speaking of its time, since it came out like the year after Superman.
Technically, I doubt that the first issues of Captain Marvel are available on DC because they don't fucking have the rights to it.
Ha! Well, no, they eventually bought Fawcett. I thought after they sued them out of sued them into not being able to publish Captain Marvel and won.
There's okay.
I think they did eventually, but then they buried. But just like a lot of these comic book places do, like I know Marvel bought like Malibu or something and the Ultraverse, and then just buried all the characters and never to resurface. And that's a weird tangent too. Oh, the other thing I was going to ask you, because I did no research, even the Googling, which I'm trying not to do during the podcast anymore. Magog. Am I supposed to know who this is before I read this? Is that a new character? Okay.
I got nothing, and okay. I did no research on that.
All right, just want to make sure. I wasn't sure if. No, he was okay. Magog is first, and okay, I just did a couple clicks. First appearance, Kingdom Come. That makes me feel better. Like I was like, how did I? Okay. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, look, it was good. I just the nitpicks were a big deal to me on this one.
I get it. Like I said, I liked it. I really did like the last part of it when they go into the superhero restaurant. It's Clark, Wonder Woman, and Bruce, and I enjoyed them sitting down at that restaurant to have the talk about her being all knocked up with a Kryptonian baby.
Yeah. How'd you like Bruce always has a plan. You give Bruce Wayne enough time, you give Batman enough time. He's gonna figure everything out. That he just was trying to figure out what was going on with Captain Marvel the whole time. That's why he was making friends with Lex and just has to look at Diana and know she's pregnant.
Well, that wasn't looking at her. It was the whole point. He figured out the whole point of them. Yes, but
yeah,
that's he's really bright, and a lot of people can do that. But yes, I know. Give him enough time, and he can defeat anyone. Okay.
Yes.
Sure.
I know.
Sure. Except Bane. I mean, how much time would he need?
He literally broke his back.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying.
Just a roided out jock. That was his. That's Batman's super kryptonite.
Yeah. He should have left Bane to starve to death in a bomb shelter like he did to KG Beast.
Boom. Very good callback. Thank you for doing that. That was nice. I like that. Well played, sir.
Hey, I just like it when we do a completely non-political comic like the
Like
Beast,
like
Batman and
Kingdom
the
Come?
yeah, no,
Oh.
Batman and the Beast with two backs,
Oh, yes.
because that was completely not non-political comic book from the 80s.
Not at all. There was an ounce of anything suicide bombs or Iranian terrorists or
Or
Reagan
or a KGB assassin.
or a KGB assassin. What else?
Yeah,
I'm trying to
Kingdom
think if there's
Come was
anything
very
else on this.
political as well.
What?
Yes, I agree. The Kingdom Come was very political,
No, it was. It was.
which is fine.
For it not being as old as some of the stuff that I suggest, it did seem a little.
I think that was a choice. I think they were making it more like something that would have come out in the 80s, or if they had been doing this even earlier.
Yeah.
It really had that feel. That was a choice more than, or it felt really like an 80s comic more than a 90s comic, because maybe it was a reaction to some of the 90s comic stuff.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're going to make this like Suicide Squad and Watchmen, except not as good.
No. Yeah. You know what? Okay. Speaking of that, Watchmen better.
Uh-huh.
Squadron Supreme better. In my
Oh
opinion.
my God. Do you know what I just did?
What?
I called it Suicide Squad.
You did, I think.
Oh my God.
You did. And I just let it go.
And you didn't notice it. Holy crap. You talk
I just
about
let it go because I'm so used to you doing it. Or
massive season 1 callback. Holy shit. How many times did I call it Suicide Squad when we talked about Squadron Supreme?
A few times.
Yeah.
A few times, but
just don't
hey,
just don't abbreviate either one of those.
don't do that. No. And well, so I was about to, and I'm not going to do it. I'm going to hold it back. It will be suggested at some point because I feel like the counterpart in some way on the Marvel side is Earth X. Different. And I've read it, but it's been many years, which came out in 99, which I feel like I did read when it came out. So maybe I did read, because I read this before I read more Earth X. I'm not going to suggest it this time, but just, it's out there, because I didn't want, and I was also thinking about suggesting a Grant Morrison run that I'm going to hold back too. But we'll talk about Grant Morrison in a second. Before we jump off this, I just happened to flip over to the Magog Wikipedia page, and his first appearance was in this. Here's from the Wikipedia page, and I'm going to just read it. The character's appearance was based on that of the Marvel Comics character Cable. Magog's character design was based on superhero design trends of the time, especially Cable and Cable's creator Rob Liefeld himself. Alex Ross explained that the design's decision, quote, "As I remember, Mark originally told me, make him look like everything we hate in modern superhero design." That's awesome. They're like, yeah, 90s stuff, let's just... And look, they could have even done more, but it was just kind of funny that that's what they were trying to go for with Magog. So yeah,
that is very funny. I like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess let me just say, if I had to rate it now, 3 out of 5 stars, it's still thumbs up.
Whoa.
Maybe because it's not
really. I didn't know your 5-star rating went below a 4.
Whoa. How dare you attack me? But it does.
This is Hobbs' least favorite comic ever, evidently.
That we've reviewed, maybe. No, that's true, huh? No, there's other stuff where I was like,
you've never,
Spider Island.
Hav, you've never given a starred review before. That was more of a joke on that. And then it's okay. It was a good comic that I felt should have been a lot better. As I said before, I wanted to love it.
I did too. Well, and I to the point where I remember really liking it when I read it, so that when this comic book sequel, Kingdom, came out, I was all excited to go.
There's a sequel to this?
Yeah, just called The Kingdom, but it's not nearly as good.
Oh.
It's just not.
Okay.
And I don't remember. I just remember not liking it as much. Plus, Alex Ross isn't involved, and the art was crazy good in this. It's just different.
The art was incredible in this. Absolutely incredible.
All that said, I probably will, just because I'm kind of a weird completionist, I might have to go read The Kingdom now.
Yeah, I kind of might have to do that too. You son of a bitch.
And hey, if you do figure out a good Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
I remember trying to and I read some of the Jeff Johns stuff that he did. It's probably been 10, 15 years now. Mm-hmm. But I know what he was trying to do to bring in that lion thing that was an original character back in the 30s, 40s or whatever. But that's where he did go to a group home and all the kids were somehow part of Captain Marvel, or I forget, or it was a weird take on it.
You mean like they did with Shazam?
The movie,
yeah,
but
which I liked.
Wasn't...
And by the way, they had the tiger. Since I just watched it, they had the tiger because there was a kid in the carnival that at the end, and there was a tiger, and Billy, well, Shazam, handed the tiger to the little kid who was with her father, because he wanted the tiger really bad from his mom, and he handed it to the kid and said, hold on to the tiger, hold on to the tiger. And it really, really, it was just a wonderful moment in that movie, which is something that you don't get in DC movies normally. This whole arc of, it's at a carnival where he lost his mom, who abandoned him once he got lost, and he wanted the tiger but didn't get the tiger, got the compass, and then he gives the tiger to another small child. I
just remember but there was something weird in the Jeff Johns run that was, I don't know.
Okay.
And I wanted to say, it wasn't that they all turned into their own versions of, like, Captain Marvel Jr., Ms. Marvel. I thought they all somehow joined up to become all together. I don't know.
I got you.
I don't remember. Maybe I need to give the Jeff Johns run another chance and try it again.
So, The Kingdom, it's a 36-page from 2021 rated T. Jesus Christ will return to Earth in the same manner in which he left, but this time he will reign on Earth for 1,000 years in a time known as the Millennial Kingdom. Is that what you were talking about? That seems like a weird sequel to this.
Yeah, that's a little weird. I don't think that's.
I think I found the wrong one. I'm not going to borrow that.
I think that might be something else.
Although
I think you're on I think you're on a list now that you Googled that.
I didn't Google. I'm in Hoopla. That's what came up.
Oh yeah, you're definitely on a list now. You're red flagged.
I'm on a list for looking at something about Jesus. That doesn't seem like a list thing that.
Okay, Jesus freak. All right, death cultist. Just cannibal death cult member.
Whoa.
Eat my body, drink my blood.
Okay.
It's a little freaky deaky.
Yeah,
I was going to say that.
I'm pretty sure your religion is the one that really literally thinks they're.
I know. Hey, plus
I was raised where it
symbolic.
Wasn't yes, it's a symbolic consuming.
I know. Again, it's weird. I grew up eating a dude and drinking his blood. It's not, and then plus he goes zombie every year.
No, he doesn't go every year. He went zombie once. Well,
we celebrate it every year.
We celebrate his zombiehood, but we don't. He doesn't
by eating
his
candy
brains.
and chocolate rabbits.
Speaking of something I wanted to love but don't, History of the World Part 2 on Hulu.
Yeah,
I don't dislike it.
I don't dislike it either,
but I don't love it.
It was, you know what? We're spoiled now. When it's somebody, and I'm stealing this from somebody. It's drunk history.
Yeah, well, it is. It's drunk history without facts, though, because at least the great thing about drunk history is they have the facts, but it's just a drunk person telling it. It bothers me that I don't like it as much as I wanted to.
Because I do love Mel Brooks. I love
That's exactly it. That is exactly it. I love Mel Brooks.
Young Frankenstein.
Yes, Young Frankenstein is just one of the all-time greatest movie.
Young Frankenstein are two of my favorite movies of all time. Okay, but one part that I did, because speaking of having the sense of humor of a small child, this is like 5 to 10-year-old humor. Did you see, how many episodes did you get in?
I think I'm almost done with it.
Okay, so we're about halfway through it, but the one where they're on the transport ship going up to Normandy for D-Day.
God, I hated that one.
Oh, okay. So Julie was looking at me like, "What is wrong with you?" Because I am dying. I'm going to start laughing now because I love potty humor. I love shit. And vomit comedy,
yeah,
and it cracked me the fuck up.
I can't stand that.
Oh my God, it is
just
hilarious.
My least favorite kind of comedy.
Just everybody throwing up, and oh my God, I was crying, laughing. That part did crack me up. There were some good parts.
No, there were some very good parts.
Curb Your Enthusiasm part was funny.
Yes, the stuff with Rasputin.
Yeah, Johnny Knoxville playing
Knoxville playing Rasputin. There's some really good things. Like I said, I wanted to love it, and I don't. I'm still watching it. I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm just not, oh my God.
Ted Lasso started.
I know. I don't have Apple TV.
Okay.
Yeah, when it's all said and done, down the road a little bit, I'll pop on for a month and watch everything I want to watch, and then pop off.
Yeah, no, it's a good. Yeah, it does suck because you can't binge it. It's a weekly thing, so
yeah,
it's a little frustrating.
Okay, I guess we should talk about where people can find us.
Sure.
Hav lives on
Whoa, hey. Gonna dox me on our own podcast. No, like I've said, no. So yeah, the Twitter. We're still on the Twitter,
Sure.
despite Blood Money running it now, Blood Diamond Money or whatever. We don't care. We're still on the Twitter. I'm at Havgonzo tweets. Charles is at Herring Red Reel. Correct.
Correct.
Okay, I did do that right.
Yes.
And then the podcast, I always get wrong. It's J and spelled out C Talk Comics.
Yep.
That's the Twitter handle.
Yes.
So there you go. And then the webpage is havandcharles.com. .com. Not .org or .podcast or .your mama. That'd be funny if there was a domain your mama. Somebody should do that.
Don't you try to dot my mama.
So, hey, and on the website, because Charles informed me before we started recording, sadly, that I have to report that there were no emails for me this week, and I'm sad.
Yeah. Make Hav happy. Send us something so I can read it on the air and not tell him about it before, because he gets so genuinely excited, and it's fun.
I do, and
I like to get Hav excited.
Mark that one for later. No, I really do. And if anybody has any, like, I'm pretty sure there are people like, I'm not going to send that, or that's dumb, or look.
I'm pretty sure if you listen to this podcast, you know there is nothing too dumb for either one of us to say.
Exactly, or to answer. And there's no such thing as a stupid. Well, there are stupid questions.
Oh no, there
are
are absolutely stupid questions. And if you write a stupid question, we will absolutely point that out, and we will love the fact that you had the balls to do it.
Exactly.
God bless. Please do it. Give us stupid questions, or give us really hard questions and make us look like bigger fucking idiots than we actually are.
There you go. And on the website, the havandcharles.com website, it's not the havandcharles.com, on the top right, real easy. Boom. Send an email. It's super easy with the World Wide Web.
It's a series of tubes.
The information superhighway, as they called it in cable.
So,
guy.
Hav,
yeah.
When TikTok is in my house, is it bringing the 4Gs into my house?
Like the 4 original gangsters?
Did you hear anything about my sister was telling me, these were some of the questions that some idiot in charge of our country was asking the CEO of TikTok.
Oh no, really?
Yes.
Oh.
And is it using my internet? Is when TikTok is if they're using TikTok, is it using my internet? Well, yes, because that's how the internet works.
Okay,
sort of.
Would that sound like? Have you heard or watched any of this Kunk on Earth?
No, I
Netflix?
haven't. I haven't. Is it worth watching? I saw something about it.
Oh my god, it is. My humble opinion. If you like just over the top mockumentary stuff,
so it is a mockumentary.
Well, yes, it's. What do you wouldn't? Did you ever see the Ricky Gervais Netflix show where his wife passed away and he's dealing with the grief?
No, thank God.
It was really good.
Sure.
But
you lost me at Ricky Gervais.
Oh, okay. But one
although
of the actresses,
extras was amazing. So.
Okay, it was good. But one of an actress in that is playing this documentarian talking about there was Kunk. Her name is Kunk, Cunk. Kunk on Britain was a show that came out on BBC whatever 4, and then she did Kunk on Earth, and I'm curious to see what you think. Give it a whirl. Each episode is like 40 minutes long. It's on Netflix.
Okay, so our next episode will just be us talking about Kunk. We are way down the rabbit hole here, my friend.
Okay, what brought that to mind was you talking about our president asking those questions, because those are the kind of questions she asked.
Whoa! I didn't say our president asked that. It was a congressional hearing. I don't know who. Congressional hearing. No, Biden did not ask those questions. Biden would have been prepped way too well to ask questions like that.
Good.
Good Lord, our president.
Good. Well, anyways,
you do know Congress people are leaders of our country. I said one of the leaders of our country.
No.
Yes, they are.
No. They're leaders of their own little district.
They get to vote on things that you can do with your body. Oh wait, no, not you. You're male. They get to vote on things that women can do with their bodies.
Right. No, God.
Ooh,
okay.
That was a real moment of politics there, wasn't it? All right. So
soapbox. Now mark the card. Mark the bingo card.
That was a real moment of politics.
Because in Kunk on Earth, she would ask like scholars, really serious, like Oxford professors the most asinine questions with a completely straight face, and it's hilarious.
Okay.
The interactions.
I could like that. I would like that.
Okay.
I think I'll watch that.
We'll try it. I'm interested to see what you think.
Okay. And we'll talk about it for at least 45 minutes on our next podcast.
There you go. So you made me read. Whoa.
Let you experience Batman and Robin by Grant Morrison and art by somebody
Frank
Frank Quitely. Yes, that's right. See, I even knew that. The art was incredible in this because it's Frank Quitely.
Both are great.
Yes. Grant Morrison is awesome.
And just off the top, I liked it a lot.
Okay.
Surprise, surprise. It's Grant Morrison. And I did go into it with high expectations. I remember when this came out, albeit more than, God, in 2009. I didn't realize it was that many years ago now that it had come out, because everything, like anything within the last 10, 15 years to me seems like it was a couple of years ago. But I did have really high expectations.
Yeah.
And expectations met.
Yeah.
Was the thing. Again, not surprising, but you never know. Some people take swings and miss, and this wasn't the time for Grant Morrison or Frank Quitely to miss. To the point where I didn't realize that Grant Morrison had written the lead into this. Apparently there was an arc called Batman, R.I.P., Rest in Peace. Mm-hmm. So I got to read that now, and I'm going to keep on reading this run of them two. So, yeah, it was great.
I liked it. That's why I mentioned it. I don't know if I liked it as much the second time as I did the first time, but sometimes that just happens because you've read some of it. I may have liked some. I think I like some of the stuff that happens later in this arc. I think the first one was not as good to me as some of the latter stuff, but I really did enjoy this. And I really enjoyed this the way I've enjoyed rereading some other stuff with Grant Morrison now that I know more about them.
Yeah.
Because I can look at things in a different way coming from their perspective. Some of the pig stuff works a little differently.
Ah, okay, yeah.
And it's just interesting. It's the way people think when they're coming from a particular mindset, or that they understand things in a different way than you do.
Yeah.
I liked that there were two Robins, and there were three Robins in this. Let's put it that way. There are all three of the four Robins were in this arc.
Yes.
Because the only one we missed was, what is his name? Tim Scott?
Tim Drake.
Tim Scott. Who is Tim Scott? Anyway, I knew it was...
Well, and at first I thought you were counting Scarlet as one of the Robins, because she kind of was a Robin to Red Hood.
No, I wasn't.
I know.
Interesting. I'm saying I wasn't. That is a very good observation, Hob.
Oh, so in case anybody hasn't read this, we talked about when it came out, Batman's dead. Like dead. But of course, they're eventually going to bring him back, like you do, comics.
Yes, he's and oh Lord, I only vaguely remember how he comes back or where he comes from,
don't
it is no. I'm not going to even try to do it. Although if I were drinking right now, I would take a crack at it because I think it would be hilarious. Because it is, let's just say it's because comics.
Yeah,
that shit was fucked up.
Really? Okay, yeah. I have now. I kind of want to read because I remember who else did they bring back? Was it Green Lantern or Green Arrow? Green Arrow died, and I remember reading him coming back.
God, that you well, he didn't quite come back. Part of him came back when Green Arrow died, and it was. Oh man! Oh, you want to do that one? Okay, that one I remember better. So
I don't. I just remember thinking, "Wow, this is a lot." Just have him reborn. I don't know. Can't you do it more simple?
They did then do. There were Anyway, that was kind of interesting, and I want to like Green Arrow comics better than I do because I loved Arrow.
You mean Batman Jr.?
I loved Arrow.
You mean
a great
with the Arrowmobile and the Arrow Cave?
And why don't they call it the Quiver?
The cave? I don't know.
The Quiver. Where do you put an arrow? A quiver. The arrow cave should be called the Quiver.
It should be.
Oh my Lord.
Because they weren't even trying to hide the fact that they were just doing Batman without doing Batman.
Yeah.
So look, Batman's dead, and surprise, surprise, Richard Grayson, trying to get away from everybody calling him Dick all the time to his face, because different time. I don't know where I'm going with that. Dick Grayson takes over as Batman. And Damian Wayne is now in the picture, the offspring of Bruce and Ra's al Ghul's daughter, Talia.
One of the main reasons he takes over as Batman is because Damian is there as Robin with his father, and you can't have Damian set loose in the Batcave.
Yeah, well, and I like the little interactions in this. You can tell obviously there's some tension between Damian and Dick.
Yes.
And like Damian's just ready to put on the cowl.
Oh yeah, he thinks he should be Batman.
I'll do it. I can be Batman. You're like, okay, simmer down there, Junior.
Yeah,
You know,
you can't even really be Robin yet because
yeah,
you want to kill everyone. You were raised by literal assassins to be an assassin.
yeah.
That's not how Batman works.
He's a little rough around the edges. He treats
Yeah.
Pennyworth, Alfred, like the help.
Well,
Because
Alfred is the help,
I know, but he's more
but yes,
family.
no, he is in yes.
So
He's
it's
the
just
closest thing both Bruce and Dick have to a father.
right.
Actually, no. In fairness, he's more of a grandfather to Dick and a mother.
There you go. Sure. Oh, so the intro arc is them, of course, getting used to each other, and Dick Grayson's having doubts about taking over the mantle. He hates the cape. There's a great sequence or line where he's like, "The first thing I did when I became Nightwing was get rid of the freaking cape. It's throwing my balance off." And then he has a great exchange with Alfred about hey, your background was in the circus performing. This is a performance. You be Batman. You have to be Batman the way you think Batman should be. Not it was nice.
Yeah, you have to be the Batman that you see in the world.
Yeah.
Not you can't be Bruce because Bruce was Batman one way. You have to be Batman like Dick Grayson is Batman. And it makes sense. You got to bring your own thing to the character.
Well, and one of the cops was even like, is he shorter? Because Batman's been absent for a few months.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, they're talking about Batman being gone, and then out pops
yeah.
a different Batman, basically.
Yeah. And what else was there? Because the intro arc with Pig.
Yes.
Oh, for some reason that just creeps me, though. You know what out? It was such a good, weird, bad guy that I want to know a little more about because you don't get a lot about what his backstory is, but it's fucked up.
Yes, he has a bad backstory. There is definitely that. And
Scarlet
is
oh my
poor
god,
little girl.
Natasha or the poor girl that survives but gets the doll face permanently.
I like how it just falls off later.
Yes, oh my god, that poor kid.
Which means she can come back as anyone.
Right.
I love comic books because of that. And I like pulp anything because of things like that. All right, here's a placeholder. Whether or not they get used later, we're writing a thing that is going to go on and on and on beyond something. So we're going to leave something. If I come back to this character, maybe I'll use them. Somebody else is going to be writing and need to do something at some point. They need somebody to bring in that means something that hasn't been around, but they can already have a backstory, and boom, bang, there it is. Flesh out what happens to her at the end, where she goes, why she all of a sudden comes back, and you've got a new character. Or you've got an old character, but that means something as a new character.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that.
Well, speaking of old characters coming back from the dead, of course, in the second part of this, and I'm just jumping ahead to this, you got the Red Hood, you got Jason Todd, who famously died in the comic books because of the freaking 1-800 or 1-900 number. I think it was a pay number, maybe.
Yeah.
Where it was left up to the
I think
fans.
it was a 976. Wasn't it 976 back then?
Maybe. It was left up to the fans whether Jason Todd should die or the Joker. And
No.
What was it?
It wasn't.
Or just should Jason Todd die?
Should Jason Todd die? Yes or no?
Okay. See, and I remember it always being should the Joker die or Jason Todd, but I think you corrected me once before, and you're absolutely right. It wasn't even a choice between the Joker and Jason Todd. It was just should Jason Todd die?
Yeah.
The freaking fans said he should die, and that's where I think I told
by
you
the
this
way,
before.
not even by a lot. It's not like there's this massive.
Okay, I know, but he's still.
Yeah.
He's still lost. I started reading Batman regularly in junior high right after or towards the end of year 1, and then year 2, and then anyways, I started reading Batman regularly when Jason Todd became Robin.
Okay.
And I liked him. He was rough around the edges. He was taking over for Dick Grayson. He had some learning to do. I remember seeing the ads.
And you had a lot in common with him. You grew up on the street. You stole cars. You were a wise ass.
Not at all. A wise ass, yes. But no, I just liked him.
No, I know.
And I remember seeing the ads, and I remember thinking, my parents would kill me if I called to vote in. And I never asked to. And I just never thought in a million years he was going to die.
It's your fault he died. It was one vote.
I feel a little guilt about him dying. So he's back in this as Red Hood, and you get all, he's, what is it? Crime with Consequences. I forget what he's reading marketing books.
Oh my Lord. He came back because Ra's al Ghul or somebody in the League of Assassins took his body and put it in a Lazarus pit. Now, Lazarus pits bring you back to life, but they don't really do it in a good way.
They mess you up.
They mess you up pretty good. If you've watched the Arrow, that's a good learning of that. You come back wrong. Sometimes you don't come back
Quite at all.
quite at all. He came back, but he's got scars and he's a little twisted, and he was already rough around the edges. So he's decided, like a lot of people looking at Gotham and looking at the revolving door at Arkham Asylum, that if Batman would just kill these motherfuckers, we wouldn't be having this fucking problem.
Well, why doesn't Bruce Wayne just spend all his money and solve crime? Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead. You were on a roll, and I just interjected.
Because it wouldn't be as good a comic book.
That's a good point.
We're going to do a 40 comic arc on Bruce Wayne's charitable
Solving
contributions to Gotham City.
Solving worldwide hunger.
He's going to be building housing. He's going to be feeding the homeless. I mean, it's all good shit. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not going to read a fucking comic book about that.
Right. Well, like, would you rather Elon Musk buy Twitter or solve worldwide hunger for $44 billion?
Seeing what he's doing to Twitter, I don't think $44 billion would be enough money for him to solve world hunger.
Yeah. Well, he'd have to buy it. He'd have to buy somebody else's solution to world hunger.
Well, and he
Like
would
he
put
did
his name
Tesla.
on it. Yeah. Well, like he did Tesla, like he did PayPal, like he did
Twitter.
Yeah. Well, no, he hasn't. He has not yet found a way to say that he created Twitter yet.
Ah. Anyways, okay. So you were on a roll. I'm sorry. Jason Todd comes back. He's gonna kill all the bad guys.
Yeah, that's his solution. If you do certain bad things instead of putting you away, you gonna die, bitch.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
I'm not gonna say it's fair, but you can understand that. Batman should have killed the Joker years ago.
And has had the chance to.
And the Joker actually wants him to kill him. That's the whole point of their relationship.
They have a pretty messed up relationship.
I'm going to keep doing this shit until you kill me. I can't stop doing this stuff, so I'm going to engage you. I don't know why a random street cop hasn't just shot the Joker.
Right? Like just in this, yeah, that's a good point. Okay, yes. Going back to the Lazarus Pit.
Unless, of course, there are 3 Jokers, and they've done that a few times. Sorry, there's a theory that I haven't really gotten into, that there are 3 Jokers, and that's why there's different levels of Jokers, and sometimes there are
different types of Jokers.
Yeah, because instead of just it's comic books, but everybody's writing it their own way in different eras when they come across. Anyway, go ahead. I don't want to distract you. Yeah, it was actually kind of fun.
That sounds like an interesting theory.
I don't know if it's a theory or if it's something they did in DC for a little bit recently.
Okay, well, they've done a whole bunch of stuff with Joker in the last few years.
Well, they think Joker's awesome, and they're making another
movie.
Have you seen the Joker movie? I haven't seen the Joker movie. Did you like it?
It's okay. It's super dark. I mean, it's as bleak and dark as you can get.
Okay.
And it was well done.
Okay.
And Joaquin Phoenix is great in it.
Okay.
It's
cool.
just it's a hard watch.
Okay.
Oh, the Lazarus Pit. No, yes, they come back twisted, but also I was going to say anybody that's died the way some of the people that have died that go through the Lazarus Pit, like Jason Todd getting beaten to death with the crowbar by the Joker, had he survived that, he was going to probably have some PTSD issues. And so I guess he kind of did, and now he's back having gone through the Lazarus Pit. So
and didn't he also end up in that because he went off when he wasn't supposed to?
Yes.
And to try to confront the Joker by himself.
He thought he was going to. Yeah, I think it was. Yes, he was going to be the big hero.
Yeah, and that's kind of the horror of what we're seeing with Damian and Dick in this is that Damian's going out to do that. Now, Damian is much better trained than Jason Todd was. He doesn't need the training that Dick got because Dick wasn't allowed to do jack crap for literally a few years.
Yep.
To go out with him, and he didn't do that with Jason Todd. A matter of fact, from what I understand, he and Dick had discussions about that. Why are you letting him go out? You wouldn't let me go out this quickly.
Early.
Yeah.
No, and he did a lot of things different with Tim Drake after that.
Well, yeah, Tim Drake got even more training and still couldn't fight at the level of the other two. He was more, they take him as more of the detective instead of he's as good a detective as Batman because he did find out who Batman was.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, come on, how hard is that? It's got to be Bruce Wayne.
Well, I mean, maybe it's the other rich billionaire that's, always, anyways.
It's Elon Musk. Elon Musk is Batman.
That'd be hilarious. if you try to do something like that. Gosh darn it! You keep on getting me off my. What was I going to say? Oh, the other parallels. So, hey, did you flip through the end where they were showing the different colors, doing homages to different covers, classic Batman covers? It's really cool. You should do that.
Okay.
Different from a lot of different eras. But one of the other things, speaking of the parallels between this run, this early run on Batman and Robin, and the Jason Todd run, at the end where Scarlet and Red Hood get the drop on Batman and Robin, Dick and Damian, and then they have them tied up, and it's a dial-in number to vote.
Oh,
if
God,
you want to
that's
see,
right. I did not.
If you want to see them naked, and I was like, oh, that's just so next level.
I unmasks, not naked.
Unmasked. Well, they're down to their boxers.
I got you, but settle down.
But they're down to their boxers. But do you want to see who Batman and Robin are? Yeah. Dial this number for this or this number for that.
Oh my God, I never put those two together.
And I was like, oh my God, that is going. Grant Morrison,
brilliant.
Of course, is a freaking brilliant genius.
They're brilliant. I can't believe I missed that. Oh, I hate being dumb.
No, I mean, that's immediately I thought, oh, this is why he suggested this, because of my thing with the dial-in thing.
No,
when they killed off Jason Todd,
I suggested it because it's a really good comic book. It's a great Batman and Robin comic book, and it's a legacy character.
Yep.
I like legacy characters sometimes.
I do too.
I love the way you can say, okay, here's the same character with a different person, and let's see how they do. And they're having that. That's the conversation Alfred and Dick are having, is you have to be your version of this.
Yeah.
We know what you're trying to achieve, that this hero is trying to achieve these certain things, but you have to do it in a way that you do it. How are you going to do it? So
yeah, no, it was. Here's a question for you, and maybe you've read more of this run before and after than I have. I take it still at this point, Gordon doesn't know that Bruce is Batman, or does he?
He does not.
Still, okay. I know that there's some iterations or some versions where he does, or some future Elseworlds where he does, but it didn't seem like he did. But he knows this is not the Batman he was dealing with. I got to feel like, right? Is that okay? I felt like that was the take, but he was going to go along with it, and I was wondering if he was going to put together that this was Nightwing now being Batman or something such, or who knows. But they talk about headcanon. Yeah. In headcanon with me, I feel like when it's a good Commissioner Gordon, he always knows. He's already figured it out. He figures Bruce doesn't want him to know, so he doesn't know, and he knows that his daughter is Batgirl. Well, if she's his daughter in this iteration, or his niece, or however, anyway. Because sometimes there's... Ooh, we should read some Batgirl. There's been some good Batgirl stuff. There have been.
I love Batgirl.
There was a good one that... There have been.
Yeah.
There was a run that I almost... there's a couple good runs.
There's a really...
And Catwoman.
Yeah, Catwoman's... Oh, I like Catwoman. Birds of Prey was pretty good by that lady... what's her name?
Gail Simone.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was having fun with that. I know exactly who it was.
Have we read any Gail Simone?
I don't think we've read any Gail Simone.
Okay, I'm writing it down.
I blame you because of your dislike of women.
Well known. Well, absolutely well known. Very, very well documented. Treatises. I've written
the Hav treatises.
Anti-feminism.
Whoa, slow down. Don't dig yourself into a comedic hole.
Yeah, I know. I do that sometimes.
Yeah, you're just
really
like
fast.
You yes and that way too hard.
I do. It worked.
Sometimes it's okay to block. This is not an improv show.
I know, right? Just hey, Hav, what do you think of that Hitler guy? Like, oh no, this went very wrong. How am I gonna finagle my way out of that one? What else here? No, it was, dude. I can't stress enough. I already borrowed from Hoopla. Hey, what's Hoopla again?
Hoopla is a wonderful service through the public library that allows you to download a certain number of things. Unlike having unlimited throughout the month of downloading from the library, this is a website that allows anyone to download what you're reading. So there's not a limit on how many copies of a particular comic that can be shared, but you have a limit monthly on how many things you can take out from Hoopla. So
it's a big limit though.
Oh yeah, well, is it? I've burned through it. I've burned through it more than once. It's like 12 to 15, something like that.
I was going to say 12 to 15.
Yeah. See,
but
you just told the difference between you and I as kids of the stack of books we'd leave from the library.
No, I see. I would do that too, and then I would read like a third of them.
I read every single one of them.
No, I would, because I would go into, like, I remember getting into Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I was like, I can read all these, or
Oh yeah,
Sherlock Holmes,
I
or
pounded through those. The Three Investigators.
Mm-mm.
You never read the Three
No, I
Investigators?
don't think I
Oh
did.
man, I loved the Three Investigators. I think that was the thing. They had one of the kids, his family owned a junkyard, and they had an RV that was covered in the junk around it, and they had secret entrances into it and all sorts. Oh man, I loved those guys.
No, okay. No, I mean, probably before age-wise. I mean, the Encyclopedia Brown books.
I love the encyclopedia. Well, they're a little encyclopedia. I read those too.
First.
Yeah,
Right. Those were
that
really early.
that was younger kids, but the
Yeah.
Three Investigators were my jam. I never liked the Hardy Boys. I was a boy, so I didn't read Nancy Drew. I probably should have. I probably would have liked it.
Nancy Drew was okay. I liked it better than Hardy Boys.
Yeah,
can say that.
I don't think I ever read any Hardy. I think I started to read one once, and I was like, "This, yeah, I'm
Very
gonna
dated.
I'm gonna find some other." Yeah, I guess that was what it was. I'm gonna go
Even
find
in
more
the
Three
80s.
Investigator.
But speaking of the stacks, real fast as we're going down this rabbit hole or whatever, discovering like Judy Blume books there for a second, and then Beverly Cleary books for a
Oh, yeah.
second,
Those
and
were
then
great.
Madeline Langle, if that's how you say her name, not the line, the Wrinkle in Time books.
Yes.
And then so there were other. And then I got and then that was more late elementary, and then middle school was more. Oh, I got into weird it's John Steinbeck's awesome, or like okay, like you should. Of course he is.
There's nothing wrong with that. Well,
Anyways.
I liked elementary school. I was reading some Asimov.
Yeah.
I read some Heinlein, but I started with the adolescent. I read some of the adolescent ones, which I really liked because that was the right age. And I read some of the other stuff. I didn't get into the heavier stuff that came later that I read as I got older. Although I think I read Stranger in a Strange Land at the latest 7th grade or something like that.
Oh wow.
Not Stranger in a Strange Land. Sorry, that was a few years after that. Maybe not. The Moon is a Harsh Mistress was my favorite back then. I need to reread Stranger in a Strange Land just because read things that you like at different ages and you get different things out of it.
You've mentioned that before.
Yeah.
That has to be true. I need to reread a bunch of stuff then.
And that's worth reading. It was deep for its time.
Well, and I was not a big science fiction, besides watching the TV shows and the movies, not reading science. I mean, besides like the super duper like Bradbury or Arthur C. Clarke or...
I'm not a huge Clarke fan.
You know what?
I did go to a Q&A with him at a Doctor Who convention.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was interesting because it was interesting. I more went to it so I could tell my dad I went to it because he's one of my dad's favorite science fiction writers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so because it was there, and my buddy Greg Mitchell, great guy, loves Doctor Who. He got me to go with him. It was out in Burbank, the Burbank airport.
Oh, cool.
Not the Burbank airport. Sorry, the Van Nuys airport. Van Nuys airport. Sorry, it wasn't even fancy enough to be at the Burbank airport. And so we went a few times.
Well, I know anyways, Doctor Who, huge blind spot for me.
Yeah, me too.
Just never...
I legitimately only know things about Doctor Who because of Greg.
Yeah, Bob Long, big Doctor Who fan.
That's okay. Patrick likes Doctor Who.
No, and I'm not saying anything bad about it. I've heard it's great. It's just nothing that was ever on my radar.
I've heard that too. I disagree, but I've heard it.
Oh, okay. Is it because people tell you for some reason look like that one dude?
No.
Okay.
That for some reason you look like that one dude.
People told you that that you look like that Doctor Who actor?
David Tennant. Yes.
Okay.
The second of the new Doctor Who's.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people have told me that. Then there's nothing wrong with that. Dave, I think of myself as a better looking David Tennant.
Boom. There
And
you go.
I think he'd think of himself as a better looking Charles Herring. So it's okay.
Okay. All right. Well,
it's not like he's some when somebody said that before, and I said the second one, they jumped to the third one because people forget. And the only reason I know this is when I first saw who he was talking about, I thought he meant the first of the new Doctor Who's. It was only there for one season, and I was like, dude, motherfucker, because Greg was the first person to when David Tennant started. He sent me a thing. He says, "You look like the new Doctor Who," and he said that. And then we were at your Christmas party one year, and guy walked across the room.
Yeah.
To tell me that. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Go away, weirdo.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, you look. I'm like, okay.
He is Doctor Who. What are you talking about? This is the actor.
I should have gone right into an English accent.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm not
No. I get that a lot.
Well, this all started, I think, this super tangent because the public
That was
library
a super tangent.
in Hoopla, because, all this stuff, besides comic books, I mean, like books, like
Yeah.
without pictures and drawings.
I
And
get a lot of my books on tape that I listen to in the car from Hoopla because
they have,
I don't have to wait for it. And when my one goes up, when I finish one, sometimes the one I want from the actual digital public library, there's a hold list on. So I'm on that hold list, but I got to get something else to listen to because God knows I can't listen to other people's podcasts now that we have our own.
right. Well, shoot, I don't listen. I have very short attention span for anything, much less listen to other people talk. I can barely listen to you talk this long. And you're a really great friend. So I don't listen to other people's podcasts. No, I do. Actually, I'll tell you in a second. Hoopla, not just, they have movies, they have music, and we're not getting paid for this plug because it's free, Hoopla.
No, we are getting paid for this. The
Oh, we are?
public library supports we are a paid sponsor of the public library.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
They
Boom.
pay us in all this media we use for free, right?
Oh,
That's why
it's-
you're saying this isn't
it's
special?
a pay to play thing. I don't know what I'm talking about.
We get all of these comics on there. You say that you can't it's hard to run through. I've run through it. I burned through in a month quickly, almost completely when we did Saga. When I read all of Saga.
Yeah, okay.
No, it wasn't Saga. Well, no, it was with Saga and with the sexist thing the same guy wrote.
Oh, Why the Last Man?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when the first time before we were doing this podcast, I burned through it when I first found Hoopla and didn't even know there were comic books on it. I got it because it was TV shows and stuff. You talk about burning through something quick. You can burn through a season of a show like that.
Sure. And I guess, you know what, because I really only use it for comic books.
Yeah.
Even though I should use it for a bunch of other stuff. I guess every time you borrow anything from it, it
That's
counts
right.
off the same list.
It counts off the same list. Yeah, you don't get this many of this media or this media or this. No, it's all anything you take out that's it.
Well, again, speaking of the Hoopla, look, I've already borrowed the run after this, the very next collection right after this one, and I'm about to borrow the Batman Rest in Peace because Grant Morrison also wrote that apparently, and to the point where I was this close to suggesting we read another Grant Morrison run of a different comic book, but I'm going to hold that one back. It's still on the list.
Okay.
And we'll eventually read it. I'll just tell you what it is because I told you what the other one was. Their run with also Frank Quietly on X-Men, new X-Men.
Okay.
Have you read that? I'm just curious.
Yes, let's do that.
Oh,
one.
see,
Yeah,
okay.
bring that up then. Keep that on your list.
I will keep it on the list, but I was wondering if you'd read it, and I'm wondering what I'm going to suggest if you've ever read, because I'm curious about that. But going back to what we were talking about before, legacy characters, I'm all for it. Guess what? Any character, any story is good if it's done well. And so, look, legacy characters have been done well, and they've been done poorly, in my opinion.
Sure.
And
what you're saying is sometimes they make them a woman.
yeah, and we know how I feel about women. So
Yeah, I'm sorry, that was a mean callback to do it again.
Yeah.
I apologize for that. But
you got me. My kryptonite is I got to yes and the crap out of it. So for example, I know I was kind of bagging on Jeff Johns earlier, but he did a really great run on Justice Society of America, JSA, in the 90s, 2000s, which it was a bunch of old characters with new characters. That's where you get Stargirl coming in, and you get newer versions of certain characters. And anyways,
I like the JSA.
It was a great run if it's done well. Surprise, surprise. Good things happen if you get a good artistic team on, a good writer, a good artist, a great writer like the great Grant Morrison. Sure. And I don't know that I know I'd read something with Damian in it. I know I've seen Damian Wayne and the animated stuff DC's done, but it was pretty darn good. I enjoyed it. So I don't know if you had any other thoughts on Batman and Robin.
I don't. I like it. Like I said, it's good, and I like the Bat family. I'm not the Batman needs to be alone and angry. Batman needs a family. I like. That's why I had us read the Cassandra Cain Batgirl, because I just remember we did read Batgirl, just not Barbara Gordon, because I loved her. I like the fact that there's multiple Robins. I mean, it's beyond the three guys, because the spoiler became Robin at one point, and I can't remember her name, and oh, that bugs me. Anyway, these are all things that I think are just great about the Bat world is the closeness of the guy who watched his parents die and all the people he surrounds himself with. So when he's isolated, that's when you get the bad Batman. That's what you get, the Batman that's just littered with the one we always show in a movie. It's the Batman that's alone.
No, you're right. It'd be almost like, oh, I am the knight. I patrol these streets alone. Who are you? Get away from me, kid.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Gordon, what are you doing here? And
Yeah.
Barbara, he's got a great supporting cast. And for the comic book, for the character, whether it's Batman or Superman or Spider-Man, pick one of the big ones. Their supporting cast usually is pretty darn cool. Even the great runs on Captain America or Tony Stark's, the Iron Man stuff. When they flesh out the supporting characters, even if it's only and so sometimes not everybody's going to have as big a supporting cast as Batman, as Spider-Man, as Superman. But even giving them 3 or 4, 2 or 3 at any given time, really good supporting, people in their hemisphere, in their orbit, makes all the difference sometimes for a character. It gets boring if it's just one dude by themselves talking to themselves and not interacting with anybody. It doesn't work.
That is true. You are correct.
So
yeah,
I do like the Batman.
All right, me too. No matter what I sometimes say.
Yeah, but you do hate Superman, so I just wanted to be clear on that.
Good Lord. So what are you suggesting we read next?
I am going to suggest we read the first volume of Peter David's run on Hulk.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It is on Hoopla. It's called Hulk Visionaries. Peter David, Volume 1.
I love Peter David.
And it took me a second to remember that he was the same dude that did the X Factor run that I know you liked a lot.
I love Peter David.
And he had a 100+ issue run on Hulk, and I'm so sorry if you like this a lot, because that means you're going to be reading a lot of Hulk.
That's okay. I don't have to read it on Hoopla. I can read it on Marvel Unlimited.
That's true.
Because I have that.
Yeah, you know what? I was kind of surprised. I was looking for something. There was a Lee Kirby Silver Surfer one-off that they did in like the late 70s.
Yeah, not everything is on there.
Yeah,
not everything is on there. Pretty much everything.
On there.
Everything more recently is on there, but not literally not every Marvel comic is on there, and they put stuff on all the time if you pay attention to and they'll add thing you're like, oh, you would have thought this was been there, but like the big things are, like I promise you all of Peter David's
Hulk run
is on there because this is when did this come out?
You know what, that's a good question. I'm gonna guess, because I'm just looking at it on the Hoopla, I'm gonna guess late 80s, because you know who's the artist is on it? Todd McFarlane.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't realize it was. I keep forgetting he's been writing comics forever.
Peter David.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's had a health thing here recently where he's doing he had to do a Kickstarter because
that makes me sad.
Me too.
Because when I was reading X Factor from when he was writing that, he would talk about his daughters, and it went on so long that you could see in the back of him when he was writing stuff that they're growing up. I mean, like legitimately from little to college. It's like, how long did you write I mean, that thing was out for what? Anyway.
Yeah.
And I did read all of it. I doubt I'll get that hooked into an 80s arc than I did in a 2000 and something arc though. Just differences.
You never know.
That is true. You never know. I could. Because I do really like the way he writes.
Well, and it's been forever since I read and it's not like I read every issue of his run back then. I did not. I would pick up issues here and there.
So you used to read this Hulk comic?
You know what? When I started reading it is because X Factor had a crossover with him, and then Wolverine had a crossover in a Hulk issue.
Is this? Well, no, I that's fine. I read some Hulk when I was reading comics actively in the 80s.
Well, and this is 87. Okay, so his first issue is 87.
Okay.
So
I was probably still reading comics then.
Yeah, and I just remember I happened onto it because there's that iconic cover with Wolverine and his claws and Hulk's in the reflection. And that was an Incredible Hulk issue that I saw on the newsstand. It was like, oh, that looks cool. I'm picking that up. I think that was during the Peter David run because it's Todd McFarlane.
I know that cover.
And then the other one was there was an X Factor crossover with Hulk back then that Peter David, I'm pretty sure, was the writer because McFarlane, I think, was drawing on it back then too.
Okay.
But yeah, that's my suggestion.
Cool. Screenshot the picture of what it is in Hoopla and send it to me.
I will. I'll text it to you.
So I feel like we haven't read any woman-centric comics recently, and I know you're not going to suggest one as we've mentioned before.
Yeah, why would I?
In fairness, I don't think you ever have. So
Have I?
we might joke about that, but I don't know that you've.
No, I suggested Wonder Woman. What are you talking
Oh,
about?
okay. Okay. So the
Like
one. The one.
the
No,
iconic
no, 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 no,
original
no.
female comic book
The only
hero.
one for 20 frickin' anyway.
And
That's
then
right.
a lot of my team stuff
All
has
right.
pretty strong
Oh,
females in
settle
it.
down. I put out team books that have some. They allow women in there.
Somebody's got to make the coffee.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm gonna get you canceled. Okay, where's my pen? I gotta
that
write
was
that
a
down.
joke.
Get Hov canceled. Oh, sure, you say it's a joke, but if I react as if that was okay to say, then you would really think it was okay to say.
No, that was a really bad joke actually because
I know.
in
I know,
the
I know.
original Justice
No,
Society
it
of
was
America.
that was why. Yes, that's a good comic book joke as a callback to holy fuck, she was the goddamn secretary, and she's the most powerful one of that group.
I know. It's just, oh God, there's so many. Well, go ahead. What do you? So, did you say? You haven't even said what you're
I
going
haven't
to
even
suggest.
said what I'm going to say. Yeah, Spider Gwen.
Oh, good.
Yes, because I want to do Spider Gwen because I haven't read in a while, and I love Spider Gwen. So you can do it either way. It's the first arc 1 through 6, and I also want to do issue 0 as well. There's a Spider Gwen from 2015. If you look up Spider Gwen 2015 to 2016, they'll come up with the 1 through 6. If you look at Spider Gwen 2015 on there, it'll pull up just the one shot. But if you just go to Spider Gwen in Marvel Unlimited, the first issue is 1, the second issue is 0, which is the kind of the one shot with some other stuff. So I thought we'd read that too and just do those 7 issues.
Cool. And I not surprised that's not on Hoopla. I'm guessing.
It is on
and
Hoopla.
I have Marvel.
I literally told you how to find it on Hoopla, the 2, but you just weren't.
I like Hoopla.
That's fine. I said search on Hoopla Spider Gwen,
Oh,
and
okay,
it's gonna
okay.
it'll come up with, but you'll have to you'll have to download 2 things in that case.
Okay. I thought you were talking about Marvel the whole time. Marvel Unlimited.
No, Marvel Unlimited. If you just look up Spider Gwen, it's the original 2015 thing.
Gotcha.
It's 2015 to 2016 because it ran that long.
Ah, okay.
But the 2015 one shot, so you don't want to have to download 2 things to get one comic out of one of them.
Yeah, no, I got you.
So,
no, okay.
But you can read it on Hoopla. I'm just saying you might go to Marvel Unlimited to read the 0 one. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, and
So
I'll
see what I'm
text
looking.
you the screenshot from Hoopla
Excellent.
of Hulk.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, well, that was fun. I think we spent less time talking about comics than we did other stuff. So I'd either like to apologize for that to our listeners, or I don't know, some of y'all may like it better because you're only listening because you know us and don't really give a shit about comics.
That's true. Or, maybe it was a good mix. I don't know. But we did talk a lot about other stuff, but that happens.
Yes, it does. It does. I had fun. So that's all that's important.
Exactly. Screw everybody listening. Right, Charles?
It is okay to tell your podcasting partner to fuck all the way off when they bring something up. I'm just...
and it is a little late now. It's past my bedtime. It's a weeknight.
Yes,
and
it is.
I'm getting a little goofy. It's okay. I'm good now. Let's just do this all night. Let's just keep on talking about crap.
All right. Thank y'all very much for listening.
Yes. Thank you, Charles, for producing and doing the podcast. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Bye.
Bye.